meeting, Tuesday, January 14th, to order. And we're going to start with the call to order and the roll call, please. Oh, sorry, Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. President.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I just wanted to make mention of a few things. We do have new gates at the Overlook, and the reason why they are there is we've been working with the Water District and the Sheriff's Office because there's been a lot of vandalism. They were dumping bleach in the parking lot, dumping oil, doing burnouts, leaving trash. So we thought it best that we put a gate up, and if the vandalism, and close them as we need to. We also, NGA gave away many Christmas presents in conjunction with the Lions Club, so we're grateful for that. We've also, from Bottles for Fuel, we've been able to give away some fuel. The fire department and Zach in planning was able to get a grant, and pretty soon, I don't know the date, but we're having some work done at the boat launch. We're putting in new concrete pads on the ground so that the boats don't disturb that, and it's going to be a little bit longer. We were also able to meet with GPCOG, and we're doing a vulnerability grant, and so we'll keep you posted on that. I wanted to thank Public Works for all of their recent plowing and winter maintenance that they've been doing. Also, a special thanks to Ray for his retirement last day. His last day was Saturday. We were able to have lunch with him and give him a small gift and card from staff. Assessing, we're looking at new GIS software. Obviously, Scott's been super busy with budgets. Codes have an increase in permits. The clerk's office, kudos to them. They entered all of the dogs in town into a new state system, so ahead of schedule. And Parks and Rec, our poor rec director, Matt, fell and broke his leg. And we had another staff fall and hurt her hip, so they're a little busy there. So we do have a new bus, and I had a CDL, so I was happy to drive the bus back to town for them. So without further ado, Scott, you could introduce our guest.
itself is pretty heavy, packet here. Financial statements. I'll start with really the most important piece, which is our independent auditor's report. From our point of view, purpose of the audit and our objective is to express an opinion, to express whether the financial statements are materially stated. That is the very first paragraph in the audit. Auditor's report. You guys did receive a clean, unmodified, thus full of assurance opinion that can be granted. So that is obviously a good thing. Again, there's some redundancy, but it'll go through how we arrived at our opinion, some of the audit procedures, responsibility of management. So I do encourage you to read that if you haven't. As far as the actual audit itself, just do a high-level run-through of kind of what makes up this full audit report. The first section is the management discussion and analysis. This is probably the easiest digestible area. This kind of breaks down more in layman's terms of all the standard accounting jargon that makes up the notes in financial statements and schedules. And this comes from the narrative of your management. And I did want to point out that the town does have an ordinance where you are required to maintain a certain fund balance range in order to meet ongoing obligations. So at year end, you are required to have basically, I think it's 2 to 3 months worth of reserves to pay your ongoing obligations. It was about 5 years back. The range had dipped below your ordinance, but I think it's the last 4 years now. There's been no issues, and the unassigned fund balance has remained in a healthy range according to your own ordinance. Current year financial highlights, which is on page 6. I won't read through all these, but overall, the town seems to be financially strong. There were no concerns per se. Obviously we're not management, so the analysis of what's good and bad is really at your guys' level and Scott and his team's level. But as far as from putting this all together and helping go through everything, no major concerns, nothing jumped out as trouble areas or issues for concern. And just want to make a distinction between a couple of the different frameworks of the financials. Sorry. So if nothing else, again, I would encourage you to read the MD&A, Management Discussion Analysis. That will basically wrap up the rest of all this in a format that's probably a little bit easier to handle. Your statement 1 and 2, those are what we call the government-wide financials. Those are on page 17 and 18. Those are on the full, full accrual, which is kind of like a for-profit business. These two statements are the only statements that are in this framework. Your statement of net position is really like a balance sheet. That's going to contain things like depreciation and fixed assets. The normal day-to-day operating mode for the town is really based on the budget and the short-term horizon. So this kind of gives you a longer range perspective of the town's resources and liabilities. Also includes things related to the pension, whereas when you get to page 19, we get into the fund level financials, and statement 3 and 5, those are going to be on what we call a modified accrual, and those are really more in line with the day-to-day focus of management and tying into your annual budget. It excludes things like depreciation, fixed assets. So if you were to purchase a $500,000 item, it would be expensed on the fund level, but then in your full government-wide, it gets depreciated over time to match the usefulness of that. But on the fund level, it's really just about reconciliations that demonstrate how you get from one framework to the other. So you can see the items that are either added or subtracted from each methodology to and from. And starting on page 24 is your note disclosures. These will really break down a lot of it'll break down all your financial statements, and it'll give you insights into basically how those are either put together, the amounts that make up certain line items, important information relating to those amounts, compliance things, just general knowledge on like what a line item might actually mean, whether it be compensated absences or your components and net position. So it's very detailed and broken down so that you can gain an understanding of what the numbers actually represent. And I would also like to point out these. Page 45. That is your Schedule 1. It's the budgetary comparison schedule. This looks at your original voted upon budget, and then there's a final budget due to prior year carry forward amounts, and also you as the council have the authority to approve use of reserve funds and small little budget adjustments like that, and then it compares to the actual activity, and it looks like as far as revenue, you had 699, almost 700,000 more than you had budgeted. Expenditures, everything came in the budget except for the public safety line, which I think, well, I won't speak for management, but I believe it kind of had to do with planning and where that grant I was referencing earlier was going to be placed in which period. So I believe that was a driver and why basically the resources were used in fiscal year 25 instead of 24, as I thought Scott was that was going to be the intention at one point in time. Other than that, no budgetary concerns. As you can see, there's a surplus in a lot of these department levels. And then from there, it goes through schedules, which are basically breaking down the financial statements in more detail, just so you can kind of get a better understanding of aggregated amounts in the statements. Troubles working with Scott, and I believe it was Ann that retired in August. And Janet got to work with her a little, and it seems like a good addition to the team. No troubles with Scott or Lean Janet. As far as the audit went, it was a pretty good process, and nothing concerning really to report back, so that's a good thing for the town. That's a lot
Thank
to
you.
digest in a few minutes, but certainly if there's ever any questions, a lot of them would try to be directed to Scott, but anything relating to trying to understand what any of this means, I'm always available to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you. Excellent. Anything else from the town manager?
No, we had our chat a couple times too, and no issues.
Was there a question for the, okay, go ahead.
If I may, the town manager have anything else to say?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you for the information you presented. A couple things I'd like to take note of. First of all, on page 14, you have long-term debt, and it says here that the town's debt load remains well below the statutory debt limit of 15% of the town's state valuation, standing at 0.7% as at the end of the fiscal year 2024. That seems to be very positive, don't you think? In terms of, I'm not looking for the town to borrow money, especially if interest rates are still high, but as we go forward and develop our comprehensive plan for years to come, this town is in a good position, so if we do identify needs for things to be done, because our debt load is low, we're in a position to take on some tasks that might present themselves as a result of that comprehensive plan, because we have such a low debt load. Is that right?
Yep, I would say that is a good description. Basically, seems like the town goes out and bonds money each year for various projects. But with that routine cycle, you guys are, exactly as you mentioned, staying well below the statutory limit, and, you're not spreading yourself too thin. So if the need arose, you're in a position to essentially take on more debt if need be.
Is there anywhere that we can look to give us a sense of where we are with regard to our peers, other communities, in terms of our debt load? Are we average, above, well below average in our debt, or where do we stand relatively compared to other towns? Perhaps it's better to compare us to towns our size or something. I'm not sure.
Sure. I don't want to give you a definitive answer right off the cuff, but where you could look on your own, and I can certainly get back to you, is you can go right to the State of Maine website and look at any municipality, pull down all their audits. That's all public information. So, I don't know what town you had in mind as a comparison, but you could essentially find out that exact piece of information and how they stack up against you, see their total debt limit, and that this note disclosure is, I don't want to say universal, but for Maine municipalities, you're going to see that same language for all municipalities. So you would see essentially how your peers are stacked up in regards to.
When the school board goes over their budget and contracts and things, they compare themselves to certain specific school districts to compare their are they paying their employees a fair wage compared to the prevailing wages of other. If we don't have a list of comparable communities, I would ask the town manager.
We already do that internally with
We do
Scott.
that?
Yep.
Okay, so there is a list. I'll ask you later about that. It would be good to know what those communities are. Another point, if I may, in terms of revenues, obviously our biggest source of revenues is taxes. But it came out when we had a conversation about waste management that there are going to be some changes coming along in terms of waste management, and that we are probably charging a far less amount now than perhaps we should be, because our fees are probably going to go up significantly. And maybe that's something, I guess it would come under charges for services, would be waste management, so that if we're significantly under collecting for waste management and are going to have those fees waived, I realize compared to taxes, it's not as significant, but certainly it's something that within our control, that we may want to reconsider waste management fees and increase them to properly reflect the true costs that we're going to be burdened with as those fees are coming to a change shortly.
Yeah, I would agree that's, smart to have that on your radar. That's really more of a Scott internal strategic mission versus my opinion. But what you're saying does make sense, but I would address that probably with the finance team within the town to, that's going to be within their jurisdiction.
And John and I have actually been getting quotes and looking at comparing different towns and our options, and we'll be bringing that for you during the budget process.
Thank you. Are there any other areas of revenue vulnerability that, besides the waste management that I'm pointing out, where we ought to be worried about having changes coming in the future that would adversely affect us?
Based on the structure of the town and what I'm seeing, nothing's jumping out where, something's going to dry up per se, or there will be drastic changes. Again, Scott may know, the finance team's focused on your unique situation day to day. But just as far as trends around the state or, obviously being involved in this particular audit, nothing jumped out that would align with that.
Thank you very much for your help and what you do. I appreciate the comprehensive analysis. And I want to thank all the town's employees for contributing to this effort to let the public know how the town runs itself and manages its money, the public's money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to public hearings.
Could I just,
Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
first of all, I think the town's in great shape. I tried to read through this 29 pages, and after about the fourth page, I'm like falling asleep. But what I took out of this is that the town's in really good shape. It looks like we're only at about 15% of our borrowing capacity. That's what I read into it, that we're one of the better towns for borrowing money against what, we could borrow 85% more money than we're borrowing in this town. That's what I got out of that report. And it sounds like we're doing a terrific job watching the bottom line in this town.
Yeah.
Does that sound correct or somewhere near?
I think your sentiment is correct. The 15%, I believe, is actually the limit based on the state, your municipal valuation within the state valuations. But within that 15%, you're very, very low.
Right.
So essentially what you said is true, just it's not necessarily you have 85% that you're not using. It's really 15% is your threshold based on the valuation of the town, which I don't have right in front of me again.
Right, that's fine.
You're using a very, very less than 1% of that, or I shouldn't say using, but, so your level remains very, very low, based on the valuation of the town, what is currently outstanding, and that leaves a lot of capacity for, no one wants to borrow money if they don't need to, but if the need is there, you're certainly capable of it.
Well, when you have an amazing town council and they really pay attention to the spending in town, this is why the town is in such good shape, I think. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, let's go to public hearings.
Yes, the first public hearing this evening is 125-24, amendments to Standish Town Code, Chapter 181, Land Use, Article 21, multiple sections regarding impact fees. The Town of Standish hereby ordains that Chapter 181, Land Use, Article 21.
Make a motion to waive reading.
All in favor of waiving the reading? That's unanimous. Thank you. So this is just an ordinance change to change a section of code, and I'm going to turn it over to Zach to kind of go in more depth of that.
Yeah, so this is the impact fee ordinance, public hearing tonight. I think you guys have gone through it a couple meetings now. Again, this is just the initial ordinance to get on the books for, to try to recoup some money from the new development to pay for, expanded needs within the town based on the new development. So that's essentially what the ordinance does, and, we hope, I think, while the ordinance may not change year to year, the policies around what we can recoup may change year to year as our priorities change in the capital plan. So that will be revisited yearly with the finance committee, but again, this ordinance as is pretty much set as, but it can be obviously amended. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions.
Basically, the formula for calculating the fees will remain the same. The amount that's in the capital outlay plan will adjust those numbers up or down depending on what's in there.
Yep. So if capital, we collect a certain amount of impact fees, obviously at a certain time, obviously that we can pay that, for that new item, and therefore, we'll change, the items that we need.
I was going to open up for the public, and then we can answer questions. Are there any public comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll come over.
I just wanted to reiterate what we were doing tonight. So tonight's the impact fees are for public safety and for recreation, and that those are two fees that are charged at the time of pulling of a building permit.
Thank you. Anything else from the counselors?
And I don't think we've looked at impact fees since 1996, maybe. So we've been 28 years, and think of what we had here in town 28 years ago compared to today and the cost to run these departments. So the impact fees needed to be looked at, and I'm glad that this council brought it upon themselves to bring this forward and move ahead. Thank you.
Anything else from the counselors? And we can have a roll call on this?
Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Pommel?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Watson?
Yes. And that public hearing is closed.
And it's 6 yeses.
And then we have another public hearing scheduled for this evening regarding a dangerous building. Due to keep everything kind of on track in the correct order, we do need to,
I'd like to make a motion concerning that hearing.
and I will second that motion.
So the motion is to table the public hearing until after we consider, under new business 1-25.
All in favor of the, great, that's unanimous, thank you. So, we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start down with Mr. Deacon tonight.
I have nothing to report right now.
The Economic Development Committee, we met and we were talking about how the change in the tax foreclosure statute is impacting our ability to look at other recreation opportunities in town, and we're just kind of reorganizing how we're going to approach that.
Thank you. Ms. Gabbs is excused tonight. I work with her on the Finance Committee. As we just heard, the finances are all in good order. We just had the audit, and I just want to say a thank you for Scott and the staff for making everything such a smooth process. Every finance meeting, committee meeting we have is just pretty much smooth sailing, and it just, we do a good job keeping all the flow and the finances in order. So thank you to Scott and the staff for that. As far as ordinance goes, we haven't had our ordinance committee meeting yet this month. We're looking to do that next week, I believe.
Appointments committee hasn't had any meetings set or need to meet. I'm sure we will in the future. As far as personnel committee, same, so nothing to report.
Thank you. Mr. Christie.
I enjoyed the workers we have in town. They all had a meeting, all these chairs, and it was nice to see them and see that everything is going very well. Went down to the water district today, took a ride, ran into one of the people down there, and he seems to think everything's going well with the town. And seeing you put me on that committee, I had fun.
Good, I'm glad you're doing it. Good work. Mr. Parmelo?
Capital improvement, have been meeting with the department heads. We went over the 10-year plan. It's kind of a wish list of expenditures over the next 10 years that might occur, and we kind of focus on 2026, which I'll be bringing forward here in a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
I forgot one thing.
Okay.
It's nice to work with Phil Pomelo, too.
Thank you. I had to pay him some to say that.
Says nobody.
If we have to separate you two down there,
Yeah.
careful. Anything on the consent calendar this evening?
There are no new items tonight.
Okay. Unfinished business?
Yes, we have item 133-24, amendments to Standish Town Code, Chapter 181, Land Use, Part 1, Zoning, FBCVD, SLV, Commercial Streets, Article 2, Definitions, and Article 3, District Regulations. The Town of Standish hereby ordains that Chapter 181, Land Use,
Make a
Part...
motion to waive reading.
Second.
All in favor of waiving the reading? That's unanimous. All right, thank you. So this is the actual form-based zoning change that I mixed up with the last one. So my apologies there, but yeah, this is just a change to make a new commercial or light industrial zoning district down in Sebago Lake Village. Anything else to add to that?
No, that pretty much sums it up. This, again, came out of discussions with the gravel pit at 67 Chadbourne as they look to repurpose that property. So again, this is adding adding a new district down there that will allow a little bit more, I would say heavier, but a little more commercial or light manufacturing uses to that area that are not there right now.
It also continues to allow mixed use in there for that zone also. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, any counselor comments, questions? Mr. Deegan?
There is talk about the state redoing Route 35 coming up, is that correct? And will there be any land takings to widen Route 35 as a result of the state working on that roadway, and how might that affect that zone?
My limited understanding of that project right now is more, I really don't know, Counselor, at this point, what that project entails. If John, if you have more information, please, but I don't have any idea.
John Cross. It's completely exploratory right now. They don't know what they're going to do. They're just doing surveying and of the area. They don't know if it will be a complete road reconstruction. That's what we got from the engineer, that they're just in the planning phase, exploring phase, that they don't have a definite plan of what's going to happen. The earliest that would happen would be 2028 is what I was told.
Does the new Pine Tree Zone include any of the Mountain Division Trail? Where exactly is that boundary? Does it, because we've talked about, there's been concern raised about the access to the public to the trail along the railroad tracks. It's nearby that area. I don't know exactly where the line is.
So my understanding is that the exploratory starts from where basically just prior to Johnson Field, where it narrows up, where the wire guardrail starts in that area and goes up to the Route 25 intersection.
Right.
How close to the lake does it go?
They're just looking at the roadway. They're not.
At the roadway?
Yeah.
So we know that the Water District has expressed concerns about the trail accessing the area along the railroad tracks, which would mean if they can't access that, it's going to have to go towards the roadway. So that's my concern, is that if there is a redirection of the Mountain Division Trail as a result of the Water District not permitting the use of the railroad track access, then that's going to affect the roadway or something.
I think we need to see their plan first before we know what's going to happen. Like I said, they don't know what's going to happen.
I would just urge that as that's discussed, that we make them aware that the Mountain Division Trail has to be factored into that somehow. And rather than have the roadway handled and then find that we have very limited or no options with respect to what to do with trail access, rather than having an interrupted section. Thank you.
Point of order, yeah.
Well, we're talking about something totally different here, about a rezoning for land for commercial use in town. And I'm not sure how we're getting over onto the trails and stuff from this commercial zoning.
Do you have a comment that's directly pertaining to this order, Mr. Deacon, or question?
Well, we are, with the Mountain Division Trail, one of the long-range things being considered is commercial access to the trail or as part of the comprehensive plan, and so it may be relevant, although a lot of it is unknown at this time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have nothing else.
Any other questions or comments?
I think this is going to be great for the town. It gives us a commercial area that we desperately need, where we can, it's a sand pit in Sebago Lake Village. It's been pretty well used up. Good access off Route 35 and Route 114. Any heavy truck traffic, we would try to push through the 114 Gorham-Standish line, so we wouldn't see a lot of impact on truck traffic, we hope, with this development. But it gives businesses a chance to come to Standish, which we don't allow right now. We have very few industrial-type spaces in town, and this is extremely needed, and I'm telling you, we couldn't ask for a better part of town for it to be in. It backs up to Portland Water District's land, which means no development in behind it. So I can't say enough about moving this forward. Thank you.
It's a great opportunity to reclaim an old used-up gravel pit, so it's a good use for that. Any other questions or comments from the councilors? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Pomerlo?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Watson.
Yes.
All right, that's 6 yeses.
Thank you.
Can I go? Up next is 134-24, amendments to Standish Town Council, Chapter 187, licenses and permits. Delete Section 187-10, bowling alleys, pool rooms, and shooting galleries, and Section 187-22, coin-operated amusement device. On December 10th of '24, this ordinance was sent to the Ordinance Committee for review and is still in review.
Thank you. Let's go on to the next one.
We have 135-24, amendments to Standish Town Code, Chapter 263, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 1, Parking and Weight Restrictions, Section 263-1, Prohibited Parking. This is the first reading. The Town of Standish hereby ordains that Chapter 263, Vehicles and
Motion to waive
Traffic.
reading?
I'll second that. All in favor of waiving the reading? Yeah, it's unanimous, thank you. So is this a housekeeping order to keep parking in the right areas? And that's about it. Any public comments? John Cross, you have anything to say on this?
This was just caused because the gate was moved to the end of New Begin Way, and there's been an issue with people parking when the beach is closed and the gate's closed along Harmon's Beach Road.
Great, thank you. Any public questions or comments? Okay. Any questions from the counselors? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, please.
Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Pomerlo?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Watson.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses.
Roll call. So new business.
We have 1-25, approving the execution of a consent to removal of dangerous building located at 1187 Pequawka Trail pursuant to 17 MRS Section 2858, and to recover related expenses through a special tax on the property. Whereas on December 10th, 2024, the Town Council set a public...
Reading?
Second.
All in favor of waiving the reading? That's unanimous.
I can give a little bit of background on that. So it started because we got a call from the sheriff's office for someone squatting in an abandoned building. So the health officer was brought in, the deputies were brought in, and the building, I actually went myself to see it. It was very dangerous. The squatters were removed. We ended up working with staff and the attorney and found the owner, and the building needs to be taken down because it's unsafe. So we met with, like I said, the attorney and the owners, and they agreed to take it down.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, any questions or comments from the counselors? Go ahead.
Whose building is this?
They're just a resident.
It's a residential building.
So they passed away, and it's in probate, and so
Okay.
someone owns it, they just need help to get it down, and we'd be compensated for helping it get taken down, but it needs to be brought down.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Pomerlo?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
6 yeses. Two dash,
Mr. Chairperson, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to indefinitely postpone the public hearing that I asked to have moved after this matter, because of granting of this.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor of indefinitely postponing that public hearing? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
all right, we're on 2-25. Authorize town manager to execute tolling agreement on behalf of the town related to the United States Army Corps of Engineers request for an after-the-fact permit for Sticky River Crossing Project. Ordered that the town manager be and hereby is authorized to execute and
Motion to
deliver.
waive reading?
I'll second that. All in favor of waiving the reading? It's unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Cross, you're coming up, so go ahead.
So this is done where Moody Road crosses Sticky River in 2023. The culvert was replaced with a cement culvert. What happened was the previous engineering firm who handles the permitting sent the permit to a person in the Army Corps of Engineers. That person left. The permit was never issued. So the Army Corps requires an after-effect permit. Even though it was submitted, it was never approved. So it's already been sent to the town attorney to approve the contract agreement. It's just stating that we as the town, because we're the owner, to make sure that the permit's in place again. Like I said, but that's normally handled through the engineering firm.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, any councilor comments or questions?
Common sense.
Okay, seeing
I have
none,
a question.
go ahead.
So by entering into this, the town's not incurring any penalties or,
No.
okay,
No fines or anything.
thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Christie.
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Pomelo.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
And Watson.
Yes.
6 yeses. And then we have 3-25, call for public hearing for the FY 2026 Capital Improvements Plan. Order that a public hearing be held on Tuesday, February 11th.
Motion to waive reading?
Second.
All in favor of waiving the reading? That's unanimous. Thank you.
I'm not in favor of waiving the reading. I just thought it had a lot of information in here about dates and stuff.
Sure.
One,
Yeah, order number 3-25, call for a public hearing for the FY 2026 Capital Improvements Plan. Order that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 at the Standish Municipal Center during the regularly scheduled meeting of the Standish Town Council, which starts at 6 p.m. for the purpose of soliciting comments on the FY 2026 10-year capital improvements plan, and be it further ordered that in the event of inclement weather for the February 11th, 2025 Town Council meeting, the meeting and hearing will be postponed until Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, beginning at 6 p.m.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comments? Okay. And Mr. Parmelo, you wanted to add to this?
Well, here, we've been meeting with the department heads for a few months now, a couple of meetings. What we do is we do a 10-year capital plan for expenditures, and they bring in a wish list of everything that they possibly could need that they know of at hand. Obviously, things jump out at us like roof repairs and stuff like that. We look at park and recreation, public works, general administration, public safety. And so where we put these numbers together and we crunch them in. This year, the number's a little high because we're adding a capital improvement, but it's at $14,130,000, where in 27, it would be at $2,785,000. I'm not sure what 25 was. Scott probably can't bring that up. So we've got about an $11 million bump this year because of possibly a building being built. Because it's in here and coming forward doesn't mean that the capital improvement plans, the people on it, the councilors actually approve this. What it is a time when we come together and bring forward stuff. In tough years, I chaired the capital for 16 years, and I got off the council for 7 years, and then I come back on. I happen to be chairing it this year. We've cut stuff. We've had things go through as planned if the mill rates look good. Other years, we've moved trucks out, we've moved equipment out. The only place in our town budget we can really cut when it comes to cutting is in this plan right here. Because you can't cut salaries, you can't cut insurances, you can't cut maintenance of buildings and stuff. So even though it says it's going to show at 14 million, that doesn't mean that that's going to happen. We're going to have discussions. The council down the road decide how this is going to shake out. But I'm nervous because we had $500,000 a year of COVID money coming in the last couple of years, and I'm not sure where we're going to play this out this year. And I know the state of Maine's struggling already with, I think, a $240 million shortfall. I'm not sure how the schools are going to get funded. Could be a tough year, and I just don't want people to see this number and think that we're out there jumping all over this number, because I think this council is very concerned about this $14 million number. And, but we do the best we can. It's a wish list, and trust me, I will be the first one to cut anything out of here if I see the mill rate climbing through the roof or where it's going to impact our taxpayers. So that's a nutshell of what we've done in capital improvements.
Thank you, Phil. Any other comments or questions from the councilors? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Christie?
It was a meeting.
I'm sorry?
It was a good meeting.
Is it a yes or no?
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Yes?
There.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Pomelo?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Watson?
Yes,
6 yeses.
thank you.
We have 4-25. Accept a resignation from Recycling Committee member. Ordered that the resignation of Recreation Committee member Jessica Roberts submitted on November 11th, 2024, hereby accepted.
Thank you. So we're just going to accept this resignation from the recycling committee so we can have somebody else come on.
Should the order read recycling committee member, not recreation?
It does look like that might be, okay.
Apologies.
I make a motion that we amend and replace recreation with recycling.
I'll second that motion. And can we have all in favor of amending the order to say recycling, not recreation? That's unanimous. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who does volunteer in all of our committees in town. It takes a lot of time and effort to come out and do all this stuff. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody who has families and say thank you and make your families more important if you don't have the time. So anything else, any other comments from the public?
Just throwing it out there, what if we didn't accept her resignation? What would happen?
I think it would just keep the spot full and have nobody there.
I'm just, we ought to try that one time, just see how it would work out.
When are you gonna go?
Yeah,
Good.
I'll put mine in next
We have a roll call, please, on the amended order.
Oh, sorry. Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Pomelo?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Watson?
Yes.
6 yeses. All right, up next, we have 5-25, amendment to Town of Standish fee schedule, land use ordinance, Article 21, impact fees. Ordered that the Town of Standish fee schedule is amended as follows, effective immediately. Land use ordinance, Article 21, impact fees. Public safety impact fee per dwelling unit, $4,039.05. Recreation and open space impact fee per dwelling unit, $2,342.34.
Any questions?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, thank you.
There are 2 typographical errors in this. I was on the Economic Development Committee and what this came out of. The numbers got swapped. So I would make a motion that the public safety impact fee should be $2,342.34, and that the recreation and open space impact fee should be $4,039.05.
I'll second that.
Okay. Does everybody understand the switcheroo on the numbers there? Okay, can we have all in favor of the amendment to the order? It's unanimous. Thank you. Any questions from the public? Any other councilor comments or questions? Can we have a roll call on the amended order, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Harmelo?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
6 yeses.
Okay, we're on to public items this evening.
Hi, I'm back again. Third time never fails. Calista Cross here, and I wanted to talk with you again about naming another bridge here in Standish. And I spoke to you last meeting a little bit about it. And so the name of the bridge is, it's the Canal Bridge, and it's on Route 35 in Standish. And it's The number is BR 2123, and this is really very important. But whatever you want to do, I'll accept it. But and I have talked with the Honor Flight board members, and they're all for this. Just to let you know up front, but we would like to name the bridge Honor Flight Maine Veterans Memorial Bridge. And so I would like to, that's what I'm here for, to see what your opinion would be on naming that bridge, Canal Bridge, after Honor Flight Maine Veterans Memorial Bridge. And as Maine, Maine was the first state to bring up the Honor Flight Maine organization to begin with. And as you know, if I've spoken to you before, there's a lot of veterans that gets flown out to Washington, D.C. for free. And because they leave here in Portland Jetport, which is close by to Standish, that it would be a nice thing that they could come over here and look at the sign on the bridge. And I know they already like the bridges that has been named, and thank you for naming the Town of Standish Veterans Memorial Bridge. I really appreciate that. And when all these signs are put up by DOT next year, the veterans are really going to enjoy seeing all this. So getting back to why I'm here, would like to hear your opinion about naming this bridge down below here, Veterans, Honor Flight Maine Veterans Memorial Bridge.
Go ahead.
If it's the bridge I'm thinking, I think it has a lot of history, the Canal Bridge, and I'm not sure of all the bridges we have in Standish, if that's the right one we need to rename. It's the one that goes out of the canal from Westbrook to Sebago Lake, is that correct? John, is that the right? And I know that's steep in history of when they put the canal in, and I for one, would be interested in naming most bridges for something, but that bridge, I would think with the history that has, I would like to see it stay as the Canal Bridge. That's just me. Thank you.
Any other comments?
What is the connection for Honor Flight and Standish to name one of our bridges in honor of them? As a veteran, I mean, I appreciate all that and everything, and I agree with Phil on the history of the bridge and all that stuff. So if you could just tell me like a little bit about the connection through Standish and the Honor Flight, to honor that.
Well, I'd been thinking about naming a bridge after our Honor Flight Maine organization, and then just happened to go over to Wyndham and saw that bridge, the Canal Bridge, and it's just such a nice area because below it is your scenic area where the veterans can also park their vehicles there and look at Mount Washington, Sebago Lake, plus the canal. The water goes underneath that Canal Bridge. So that's kind of why I chose that one, not knowing how far it would go, but it just drew my attention to that. I didn't really want to go to Westbrook and Portland because it won't be seen like it will be out here in the country part. Even though there's a lot of traffic on Route 35 to Wyndham, there's a lot of people that goes there. But they'll be able to see it more in an open area like that than they would if they went to Portland and Westbrook. So I kind of left the city part out. So that's kind of how this bridge got chosen. And I did write to the board members of Honor Flight Maine, and they totally agreed whatever I wanted to do. So they left it up to me, so that's why I'm here.
Were they excited about it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This would be a big thing because the Honor Flight Maine was the first state to get this organization started. And because it got started in Maine, now it's all across the country that many states have this organization where veterans can go on a free trip. And so this is in my head, because I'm always thinking probably where I shouldn't be going, but because it got started here in Maine, I thought if we get a bridge named after On a Flight, Maine, maybe that too will spread across the country in all the states, once they learn that Maine has named a bridge after them. So that's kind of how I got about to thinking about the bridge there.
May I ask her a question?
Please.
What was the cost involved in this?
Sending the veterans?
No,
Is
the
there a
bridge.
cost for renaming the bridge?
Yeah, on the
Just
bridge.
plaques
Is
or
there going to be
something?
a plaque or something?
Oh, well, it will be just like what your town of Standish Veterans Memorial Bridge. It will be the same sign, if that's what you mean, at each end of the bridge.
I apologize, I didn't make it clear for you. That's good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, so that, just like you're going to be getting your sign up. And in fact, Senator Chipman called me this a few nights ago, and it looks like the time has been extended for me to name more bridges till the end of this month, because it looks like the bills aren't going to be passed until like second week in February. So, but this is what will happen once the bridges are passed through the legislature. The DOT will bring the signs out, and the senator's working on it so that it will, instead of going through, to go put the bill through, what do you call that? Shoot, I can't think of what they call it, but.
Appropriations, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's like that. And then it will go through more quickly, so that if all the towns, and I've got like, I think like 17 towns right now that has named a bridge after our veterans. And what will happen is, after it's been passed and the Senator Chipman is getting the bill in quicker, so that people like you, when DOT comes out, it'll come out earlier. It will come out in the summer instead of putting it through a different way to get the bill passed, so they wouldn't come out until like in the fall, which would be much later if you wanted to celebrate. So this is what he and I was talking about just a few nights ago. So I says, okay, let's put the bill in. Oh, I know what it is. It's the emergency bill. And we weren't going to go that way, but then we thought it over that it was going to be, the bridges are going to be, DOT will come out and put the signs up, like in the summer instead of the fall. So if any of the towns want to celebrate, it will be like in the summer instead of the fall. Any other questions?
More of a comment. We've already changed, I believe, the bridge right down the road from going to Veterans Memorial, right? And so I feel like that is as nice of a sentiment that it is to change that to honor flight and honor them, that there could be maybe a local Standish veteran or veterans more of that could be geared towards more of like a Standish group of veterans instead of, if that makes, just, I guess in my opinion.
Well, everybody has their opinions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So-
Sorry to, not trying to offend you or anything, so.
Mr. Chairman, what do you recommend?
Well, this is just this is a 5-minute, and we're over the five pretty much. but
5-minute time.
Yeah,
it's a
sorry.
5-minute, it's just speaking at the end, we don't have to take any type of vote.
There's nothing, no
Right,
actions we can really take.
Just talking.
just talking.
If there's nothing else from the council, then I guess we'll take it under advisement, and thank you.
Okay. So will I hear back from anybody if you change your minds?
I'll make sure somebody reaches out to you one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Come on up, sir.
There he is.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Anthony Folsom, Standish resident, about the abandoned house that you guys brought up and gonna take down. I would like to see it, if it's possible in any way, be donated to the fire department, have them train on it. If it's not too much of an expense, I think it'd be good training for the fire department.
I think the chief went in there, and I think it's too combustible of what's in it. We
I just
did talk
wanted to-
about, yeah,
I
no,
just
he
wanted to
was
throw it
there,
out
and we
there.
did talk about it.
I'd like, just throwing it out there, so if it was able to get training, then it'd
Yeah.
be a good way for the fire department to learn. So,
It's very full of stuff. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Mr. Farley, did you have anything to share tonight?
No, I'm just here to listen.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Any other announcements, or anybody else want to say anything? Okay. There's no executive session this evening, so we'll hear a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
You're here.
Meeting adjourned.